So you're thinking about moving to Maple Valley? Well, stick around, this is the video for you. In this video, we're going to talk about all the pros and cons of living in Maple Valley. I'll switch off from one to the other so I'm not to be biased, but stick around to the end because the very last pro is actually the reason that I moved to Maple Valley myself. So if you're looking to learn more about Maple Valley, definitely stick around, you're not going to want to miss it, and we're going to get after it right now. Hey, so if this is your first time to the channel and you want to know all there is to know about eating, sleeping, breathing, and living in King County, Washington, or like places like Maple Valley like we're talking about today, then go ahead and hit the subscribe button, tap the bell for notifications. That way you can be the first to know about a new video that comes out of either Maple Valley or one of our other favorite cities in the King County area. I'm Brad Decater with the Decater Home Team, and we get calls, texts, and emails from people just like you every day who are making their move to King County, Washington. So there's links in the bio there. Go ahead and shoot us a call, text, video. We would love to chat with you, whether you're just 1 day away or 1 year away from making the move. We want to make it a seamless move to King County. So today we're talking about pros and cons. We'll just get right into it. So my first pro for Maple Valley is the things to do, the parks, the trails, golf courses, all those types of things. So we got Lake Wilderness Park is an amazing park that actually is it kind of backs up to the golf course. So I live on Lake Wilderness Golf Course, and Lake Wilderness Park is right behind there. It's got a great loading dock. It's got tons of grass areas for kids to play. It's a cool park because it's got tons of trees as well, so it's pretty well shaded. It's got sunlight and shade. Very nice playground that I take my kids to. We're actually walking distance from that park, so great playground with slides and all that kind of stuff. It's also got a baseball field, pickleball or tennis court, depending on how it's being used that day. So Lake Wilderness Park is super good. Summit Park's got the skate park. This is where my kids play t-ball. It's got 2 huge soccer fields, but they're also baseball fields. And there's also just tons of hiking, trails, biking, all that kind of stuff. Actually, in Maple Valley, it has all that right there. But just down south, about 10 miles, we also have 10 trails in Black Diamond, which is literally just miles and miles and miles of biking and walking trails. So love all the great things to do in Maple Valley. Oh, and golf courses. So I mentioned I live on one. There is a couple of golf courses really nearby. This is the only one that's actually in Maple Valley. That's Lake Wilderness Golf Course. So basically just being around, the nature. That's one of the things that I love about Maple Valley, and is my first pro is the things to do around the area. All right, so my first con, and this is for all of you out-of-staters that are watching this, it is going to be weather. I know we're not in Seattle, but it is very similar weather, and so I'm sure if you're coming from out of state, you've probably heard the weather here in the King County area is not so hot, depending on how you look at it and also what time of year. So like I said, all those hiking trails and all those biking trails and stuff like that, those are great for summertime, and I would say that our summers are actually amazing. So that could be a pro, because like right now today, we're in July, it's probably about 75 degrees out. So very comfortable. It can get up to about 90 in the summers. But the reason it's in the con list is probably what you've guessed. We are very cloudy and rainy and wet for at least half the year. I would say, the end of fall and the winter, and even in the beginning of spring, that whole time frame, October starts getting cold, but November through, March is going to be pretty darn rainy. It's not the extremes though, so we don't have super hot summers and very, very cold winters. Our winter is pretty much just gloomy and raining the entire time. So it's lots of rainfall. We probably only get snow, I would say, like once a year on average. Sometimes it's just a one-day thing. Sometimes we call it Snowmageddon because it doesn't happen very often, but a few years ago we had like a couple of feet of snow, which almost never happens, like once a decade, and that lasted for about a week. But yeah, the weather in general can be a con if you're someone from Midwest or Texas, Florida, Arizona, coming to our climate. It could take a toll emotionally. It might be a little depressing for the wintertime if it's your first time going through it. But yeah, it is pretty cold, pretty rainy, and pretty gloomy in general. So that is my first con, is the weather. So my next pro is going to be just great neighborhood and people, great feel to the area. It's kind of a family vibe. It's just a really good spot that's outside of a main city. So it's cool because it has things to do and it has shopping, which is I'll get to later. But The houses, a lot of them have a good chunk of acreage. There's kind of a mixture of the housing, but yeah, just a really good family vibe, neighborhood feel. So you're mostly houses, single family houses. There's nice community Facebook pages that people are super involved with. So it's just a good area. And one of the segments of this pro is also the safeness. So I like the neighborhood, like the people, the general area. But crime rates are very, very low for this area. So compared to the whole Washington state, extremely low, and even farther away as far as how low it is compared to other areas with violent crime. So I moved my family there myself last year, and so that is one of the main reasons is very low crime, very safe, and a good neighborhood feel, and we love the people there too. Okay, so my second con is gonna be the location is a little bit far out. So I would consider this to be a commuter town. Most people are going to live, most people are going to work in Bellevue or Seattle unless they're remote or working at there's a few places, but there's no, massive skyscrapers. This is not a Seattle downtown city. So it's not like there's tons and tons of crazy employment or tech jobs in Maple Valley itself. It is a town that people live in. It's a suburb. People live there, have their families there. And then if they're not working remote, which a lot of people are now, they're heading to Bellevue, Redmond, Kirkland, Seattle. Those are like kind of the main areas where all the tech jobs and all the just general jobs are. So this one's a little bit far out. We'll show the map up here in a second. It's not too far out, but I would say it's a con just because if you're someone who's used to living in the downtown area, like if you work in Seattle, live in Seattle, or you're going to be if you want to get to a suburb like Bellevue or Issaquah, that's probably better proximity, but the housing prices are way more expensive. But still, Maple Valley is only about 35, 40 minutes to downtown Seattle, like T-Mobile Field, right in the hub of Seattle. It's even less, maybe 30 to 35 minutes to Bellevue, but that could be looked at as a con. It is a little bit farther out. And along the same lines of the proximity as a con, being a little bit far out, there's this one highway that I absolutely can't stand. It's Highway 18. So luckily for most people who are commuting that are going to be going from Maple Valley, over to Bellevue or over to Seattle, that's not too bad. There's going to be some traffic for sure if you're on 405 or I-5, in that general, Seattle area. It's going to be trafficy. But the one that goes from Maple Valley to Snoqualmie, that's Highway 18. That'll get you to I-90 up here. I don't know if we can put a map up here, but anyway, Highway 18 is a terrible highway. It's one of those 2-lane highways that has really no main lights. So it's not a 4-way or 4-lane or 6-lane highway with tons of lighting. It's dark, and quite frankly, it's pretty dangerous. I hate driving there at night. Not to mention if it's raining out and it's super hard to see, there's just not enough lights. It's just dangerous. There's accidents there, honestly, quite often. So that's a huge con, is that Highway 18 is garbage and we don't like driving on it. So whenever possible, I try and avoid it unless I'm going up to Snoqualmie for something. If I'm going to the main areas like Issaquah, Bellevue, Seattle, I'm never going to hit that road anyway, but it is worth mentioning because that road is terrible. So the next pro, this is my third pro, is going to be the real estate market. So I'm in real estate and so I know it very well, but we like the real estate market in Maple Valley, and the reason is because you're getting a really good bang for your buck. So like I said, it is a little bit farther away from some of the markets that are much more expensive, like Bellevue, Seattle, Issaquah, Sammamish, Redmond, Kirkland. Those are all, kind of nice, pretty big hubs, and they have lots of industries within there and tech jobs. So the real estate demand is more, and so the prices are a lot higher. So what I love about Maple Valley in the real estate side of things is that you can get your standard, 4-bed, 3-bath, 2,000 square foot, what I would call just a pretty standard family home for a much more reasonable price than going to Bellevue. I mean, the prices in Bellevue are at least double from Maple Valley. So going only 30 minutes away, you're getting such a much better deal on the real estate, but you're not giving up a lot of the things that you might think you're giving up. I'm going to wait for my next thought because it's one of my pros later on. But the real estate's great. So what I love about it is there's pretty much a good variety as well as far as price points. So low, middle, high. You're talking about your lows is going to be the 500,000 range, 5 to 600. That's going to be your starter home, and I'm talking still a single family home. Like $500,000 property there is going to be a starter home, 3-bed, 1-bath, 3-bed, 2-bath. 1,100 to 1,400 square feet, Rambler, like that kind of house. That's your starter home, but 500,000 doesn't exist in Seattle or Bellevue. So that's your starter home. I would say the average price point and median is probably in the 700s to the 800,000 range. And that's going to be your, like I said, 4-bedroom house, 2,000 square feet. with a yard, single family house. That's your average price point and median price point. And then your high end in Maple Valley is not that high compared to the Bellevue and the Issaquahs and stuff like that. But $1 million here in Maple Valley now in this current market, as things have changed a little bit, is a really nice, pretty much a newer construction house. So there's houses that are about 1.1 million that are 3,500 square feet, just built a couple years ago. There's some new construction going on right now that are listed around that $1 million range. So yeah, you get a good variety as far as the price points, but also a really good variety in the houses themselves. So like I said, the new construction, the $1 million houses, or 900 if they're a little bit smaller, like 2,400 square feet. But those houses are pretty much the cookie cutter. They're right next to each other, so they only got about 10 feet between the houses. And some people like that because they get the new updated finishes. It's new construction. They got sidewalks. It's a really nice little subdivision. So that's one type of buyer you can serve there. But if you're someone who wants like a bunch of land, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 acres, they have that in Maple Valley too. Now the houses aren't going to be new construction unless they tore one down and built it, but there's lots of homes close to the Cedar River and in different areas in Maple Valley that are a little bit older that actually have pretty huge lots. And then you got your 1980s and 1990s house that are on, I would just call like standard lots. So much bigger backyards than like the new construction, but not like a farmhouse with 5 acres. So really good variety in, again, both price and actually type of house. Oh, and one more thing to mention about it, it kind of goes along with both pros of like the neighborhood and the real estate, but there's very, very little apartments and condos. So there is some, townhomes, and there's a few condo complexes, but they're all owned. I can't think of very many at all actual apartment complexes that are just for rent. I like that because I think the neighborhood tends to stay better with, homeowners. There's just typically take care of their house better, all that kind of stuff. So there's not a ton of renters and big apartment complexes in this area as much as there are in like, your Seattles. So my next con is my third con. It's kind of the same thing as my pro, but kind of the opposite. So this is going to be the con of the real estate prices. So this is really just meant to be for someone who's coming from somewhere else. So I know it could be sticker shock depending on where you're coming from. If you're coming from California, this is like an absolute steal. You'll buy 5 houses. You're like, wow, this is crazy. Or if you're coming even from like Bellevue, like I said, the Bellevue prices are about double than Maple Valley. But if you're coming from a small town, I don't know, Midwest, it could be anywhere. But I know that a lot of people, Washington is still a relatively high price market, in the lines with the Californias and the Arizonas and the Texases at this point is kind of climbing too. So I know if you're coming from somewhere where houses are on average, $300,000 and you're getting a 3,000 square foot house at $300,000, I know that could be a sticker shock to come here, and 500,000 is just getting you the starter house, which is a pretty small, 3-bedroom house. So that's the con. If you're relocating from somewhere that prices are significantly less, that could be a deterrent. But the problem is if you're relocating to this area and you're planning on buying, you're just not going to have that much options if you're going to actually work in one of these main locations. If you're going to be totally remote, you could keep going farther south or go up towards like Everett, and you can get the prices kind of dispersed as you get away from Seattle. Seattle, Bellevue right here, as you go north, it'll get cheaper. As you go south, just like any other city, I think as you get a little bit farther away until you run into a different, bigger city, prices usually go down. So you could keep going south to get a little bit cheaper, but anyway, that's one of my other cons, is that it is a pretty expensive market just in relation to the nation, not in relationship to Seattle and Bellevue and this greater East Side market. All right, just a couple more here. So the next fourth pro, is going to be that you have really good shopping centers. There's a place called Four Corners, which is the shopping center here in Maple Valley. There's actually a couple different shopping centers, but this is the main one. It's very, very big. It actually is considered, it goes on 2 sides of the road. So one side is going to be Fred Meyer. Across a little access area there is going to be Safeway. It's got, restaurants, Great Clips, banks, Burger Kings, all those kind of things that you would think of a commercial, shopping center. On the other side, you even have, Walgreens, Dairy Queen. We got Crockett's is a really good place to eat. It's like a bar and grill type thing, coffee shops, things like that. So the shopping center, I think, is really good. And you definitely do not have to leave Maple Valley to just get your regular shopping done. But that brings me to my next con, which is going to be, it has the shopping, but it doesn't really have everything you need. If you're used to being in Seattle or a city similar to that, you're not going to get everything in Maple Valley. It's a pretty small town, so shopping's good. You don't need to leave to get your shopping done, but the con is that you don't get everything you need in Maple Valley if you're used to a bigger city. It is a pretty small town, so the examples are like there's no Costco, Home Depot, there's no like actual mall, like a big, huge, shopping centers, Fred Meyer, but no, downtown mall. And then also even like a movie theater. So if you wanted to like go to or concerts, things like that, like there's no big event center. So if you're going out for like a night on the town, not just dinner, they have good restaurants. So you don't have to leave Maple Valley to just go to a restaurant, a decent restaurant. But if you're really going for, like I said, a night on the town, movie, dinner, drinks, or like catching a show or something like that, then you are gonna have to leave Maple Valley. So that's another con, is that you're not gonna get all the entertainment out of it. Shopping centers are good, entertainment not quite as much. They have the restaurants and the dining, but not the entertainment side of things. So all right, so if you stayed this whole time, thank you so much. This is my last pro and the reason that I moved to Maple Valley as well, along with the other pros. But that's the school district. The school district is really solid. And so the reason that I moved there specifically was, like I talked about, the real estate market. So I'm a real estate guy, so I know real estate. And so one of the things that I loved about Maple Valley is that you get the good bang for your buck by getting outside of the, like I said, Bellevue, Issaquah, Sammamish areas by only going 20 minutes from there. But you do get a much better bang for your buck for the real estate, but you're not giving up on the school district. So if you keep going into Enumclaw down south or over to Kent, Auburn, Federal Way, stuff like that, school districts are not very good there. But the Maple Valley is a Tahoma School District, and it ranks right up there with the Issaquah School District, Lake Washington, Bellevue, and like Mount Si. So it really is a great school district. It's got very high ratings, and so that's probably my favorite part about Maple Valley, is that you're getting a good bang for your buck on the pricing, but you're not giving up on the school. So it's got great houses, great community vibe, range and price range, but you're not paying the actual premiums of getting these other locations that have a little bit better proximity and also good schools. But this is one of the only ones down here where you get the good schools and the decent pricing for real estate without sacrificing those schools. All right, guys, so that pretty much wraps up the pros and cons for Maple Valley. Hopefully this was helpful. We do have a full series on each city that we kind of cover, which is the whole, not the greater King County area, but what we call the east side. That's where we're from. I'm from Issaquah, Sammamish area, live in Maple Valley, Derek's in North Bend, Snoqualmie area. So this whole area is our spot. So if you're interested in coming to any of these areas, definitely check out the playlist of different cities. Or if you're just interested in Maple Valley, then definitely check out the other 3 or 4 videos that we have on just Maple Valley. There's vlogs and map videos that'll definitely give you more footage of the actual area, and hopefully help you make a decision on what area is best. Again, if you're thinking about relocating, whether you're a day or a year away, we'd love to help you out. So shoot us a DM, call, text, email. We'll hop on Zoom call to explore the markets and talk to you about what's going on in today's market, because this video may be old by the time you're looking at it, but we look forward to talking to you. Thanks for watching.